So hello everyone and welcome to this new series. In this one we're going to be looking at how to build a little space shooter using the arcade.makecode.com platform. And we're going to be looking at various parts of this. And we're going to learn about sequencing, loops, about game objects like sprites, variables, and all the other various things we talk about when we talk about computer programming. So this is our goal. We're going to try and make a little space shooter like this. Some people might remember things like Space Invaders. It's very similar to that, so that's what we want to try and do during this series. Okay, so let's see what's first then. So first thing we want to do is we're going to go to arcade.makecode.com. So I'm just going to swipe over to there. I've already opened it up here, arcade.makecode.com, and we're going to start with a new project here. Okay, so we're just going to call it Space Invaders. Okay, and we're going to hit create on that. Okay, so let's see what we need to do next then. Okay, so it just tells us to go to new project there. It's called Space Shooter, but I said Space Invaders. I'm just going to give you a quick demo of what is in our platform here. So we have our online simulator. So we're going to use this to play our game. But you can also use like a hardware device to do this as well with, and that's what I'm hoping to get next. Actually, we're going to hope to get some of these hardware devices to actually download and play your game on there. And then we have, of course, our block menu. So this is where we're going to find the code we're going to use. You can use blocks, JavaScript, and also in the new version you can use Python as well. So, and then we have the place where we're going to design our code here on the design canvas. And then we can download, so if you have the physical device, you can actually download it and use that. And then we have the undo and zoom buttons there. And the first thing we're going to come across is a little thing called a sprite. You might have seen a sprite jump across the screen as we were starting this video today. And what is a sprite? It's a two-dimensional image that is integrated into a larger screen, most often in a 2D video game. So this is my little sprite here. It's a little pixelated character. And we're going to add that person to our game, but in this case it's going to be a little space rocket basically. Okay, so what we want to do then is we're going to get we're going to get a rocket for this one. So let's just go back. So again, another term we've come across before. What is a variable? A variable is somewhere where you store something and it can change as the game progresses. So just like any other computer programming system, it has an input, a process, and output. All computing systems does these steps basically. And a variable is somewhere where we can store something that can be then easily changed. And it's always important to give it a good, meaningful name. So instead of X, we're going to call it score in this example. In this case, score equals score plus 1, which means whenever you get a new score, you add 1 to that score, and then that'll keep a score for your game. So let's find our first variable, and we're going to use this one called mySprite. And we're going to name our first variable. I'm going to change it to ship, and we're going to find this in here. So we're going to go find that block. So the block is in the first section, which is in sprite. Okay, so we're going to go to sprites, and we're going to do set my sprite here. I'm going to drop it in there, and we're going to name my sprite ship. So I'm going to change that to so is it going to be rename it? Yeah, we could just rename it to ship. So we're just going to rename this one to ship. Don't forget that capital letters and small letters all have meaning as well when you come to coding, so make sure you stick to the same one. And then we want to get the ship, and we can go to gallery here. And we're going to just swipe back to see where they get it from actually. So it's going to be in gallery, and you scroll down, and it should be, it looks like it's near the bottom. So then you can actually pick between the different colors there actually. So scroll all the way down to the bottom here, and there we go. We've got a couple of different versions. I'm going to go with the purple one and press done on that. And there we go. We should have our little ship right there. Okay. So we're going to get set up then. How do we get it to move is the next thing we want to look at. So currently, currently our ship is in the wrong location. We want to move it down here. So we're going to go grab the set my sprite X coordinate, and we're going to bring it down to 0 right here. Okay. because this is x and y coordinates, so x and y, okay, and we're going to change that in our sprite here. So we're going to go to again to sprites tab, and we're going to find set my sprite. So we're going to do set my sprite, and we're going to set the x parameter to 0, okay, and then if it's correct, it should, so it's not that one, of course, it has to be the ship, okay, and you can see now it's set it to there. Actually what we want is we want to change that to the y, so the x is across, of course, y is up and down, so we're going to change it to y. Yeah, must be the next thing to do. Okay, so in this case what we're doing is we're changing a parameter. So a parameter is a value inside a block. This number is passed into the block. In this case, our parameter is going to get the value 0, and we use these to change different values inside what we call functions, and we sometimes call these an argument. So sometimes you might hear the word parameter is called an argument. Okay, so here we have x and y parameters, which represents the pixels on the screen. So the width of our screen is 0 to 160. A pixel is the smallest square that you can see on your screen. It's very, very tiny, and it represents all of the things that you can see on your screen, actually, pixels. And then, of course, the y is 120, so it's a little bit wider than it is high or tall. So we're going to use that to help us. So set ship bottom to 120. So change the name of the ship to location bottom, and the parameter to 120. Okay, so let's see if that works then. So we want to say ship bottom, and we want to have it down to 120 because it's at the bottom of where we want to be. Okay, so there we go. Our ship is now on the bottom where we need it. Okay, so let's see what's next then. And of course, this will place our ship at the bottom of the screen or on the y-axis at the bottom. Next, we want to get our ship to move, and in this case, our ship is only going to move left. Well, we'll see if it's going to move left, right, up and down. We can see what's going to happen. So we're going to go to the controller tab, and we're going to pick up the My Sprite buttons, and you can see here it's just moving back and forth with buttons velocity X, velocity Y. You can change, this is Vx and Vy. So we only want it to move in the X and Y, we only want to move it in the X coordinate, which is across. We don't want the Y to change at all. So let's have a look and see. So that's going to be in the controller option. We're going to get move, and we want to have width buttons here, and we want to grab here. Yeah, so it's going to be this one, I think. And we're going to hit plus there, and you can see it's got Vx, Vy. We want to set that to 0 because we don't want it to change the X and Y one, and we want to change that, and that should be that one, and we're going to leave that one at 100. Okay, so that's the next part. We need to change this, of course. It needs to be set to ship, and we should be able to then move our ship using the arrow keys or on screen here. So give that a go and see how you do. Okay, so next part then, we can see from our game actually here. So if we use the arrows, we can go back and forth, but our spaceship goes off the edge. We don't want that to happen. We want to keep it on the screen. So we need to find this block then. Set ship to stay on screen, so therefore it won't change, it won't fly off the screen. So we're going to go into sprites here, and we're going to say where it is down here. So it's under effects. Set my sprite to stay on the screen. Okay, so we're going to put that in here. We need to make sure we change this name, of course, to ship, and then it should stay on the screen. Okay, so we can't go off the edge now. Okay, so that's that part. That's that part done. Next up, we want to register an input or an event, it's called in this game, in this system here. So we're going to, on the button A pressed, something's going to happen. And we want to have a little laser being shooting out of our rocket here, okay, out of our spaceship. So let's see what we need to do then. So we're going to grab the on event button here, the examples. This is an on event as well, the start. So whenever the game starts, this one gets called first. And then this one's called, so we're looking for an input here. So computers need input, process, and then output. So let's see. We're going to get the projectile here, and we're going to grab this one and place it into this box. Okay, so we're going to grab those two, and we're going to put those into our game. Okay, so controller we go to, and then on button A pressed, and we want to grab then the projectile one, set bullet. So we want to do sprites again, and it's going to be set. And it's going to be projectile this time. So we want to create a new variable, and it's going to be, we just call it my laser, for example. Okay, and it's going to be of projectile. Just want to see, we go back. See if I got the right one. Sprites. Oh yeah, it's a different one. There's projectiles down the bottom here. Okay, so not that one then. Okay, and it's going to be sprites, and it's down here. Projectile. This one. This is the one we need here. Okay, and it's going to fire from my sprite, from my rocket. Okay, so that's the right one we need to use. We're going to have here. Change it to ship. Okay. So we're going to put that in there, and we're going to design our projectile here. So here we can see what it's going to look like. We've changed it to ship, yep. And then we're going to add in our projectile here. So I'm just going to go back and show you how to do that. So click here, and we're going to draw this one this time. So I'm going to pick yellow, and we're going to just draw in our laser like this. Okay, like so. Something like that. Let's see what they've done. Yeah, so it's done that. Yeah, started about there. Yeah, and then right across one. Yeah, perfect. So let's see, and press done on that, and we can change the velocity. So let's see what the velocity was going to be. So the velocity is the speed at which it goes out. So the velocity of x is 0, which means it doesn't go back and forth like this. It means it has to go just straight up, and we're going to set the velocity to minus 140 because it's going up in a direction. So we're going to change that to 0, and we're going to change that to minus 140. Okay, and let's see, does that work then? So when I press the A button, there we go, we've got our laser shooting. So there we go. So that's finish it for today. Let's have a play with that. You can even change this, for example, and come up with a different projectile, come up with a different design. Maybe add a little arrow on it like this, something like this maybe if you want. Let's see what that looks like then. And we can see how it looks. So you can see, you could change this, change the colors, make whatever sort of different shapes you want, and have a bit of play with that. Okay, so give that a go and see. Okay, so an extension. So if you're finished, of course, play around with designing your game, but you can also check out some of the other tutorials that are on here and have a go with some of these. They're also on arcade.makecode.com. So if you go to arcade.makecode.com, there is lots of different tutorials on here actually. And there was one I wanted to see up here actually. This one, Sea of the Galaxy, looks interesting. So maybe give that one a try if you're finished with today's task.